Joining us now is international criminal defense attorney Dan Conaway. Good to have you with us this morning, Dan.
Good morning, Erica. Thank you.
Twists and turns may be an understatement in this case. So he Joran van der Sloot formally requested that this confession be declared invalid. Is that really an option?
It is an option. He can challenge the confession and he can argue that it shouldn't come in. And he's saying that he didn't have proper counsel, that he didn't agree to the counsel that he had. He was represented by a public defender.
Because he did have counsel with him at that moment.
He did. He's just saying it wasn't of his choosing and that he was basically forced into confessing. The problem with that, ultimately, is that even if the confession does not come in, there's still apparently overwhelming evidence. Now, the details are still coming out, but this was a crime of passion, clearly. You can see that from the photographs. And so you add to that the fact that you're going to have probably massive DNA evidence in a situation like that. They already supposedly have a bloodied shirt with her blood on it. And so you put all the DNA evidence together and match it with the circumstantial evidence, him fleeing the scene, the videotape footage. You put all those things together, they don't really need the confession, in my opinion, to convict.
But if he did leave that confession in, it could in some ways help him, correct, by showing that he's actually cooperating, and could that get him a lesser sentence?
It could. And he's really at the crossroads of his defense. Now, at this point, remaining silent yesterday was okay because he can ultimately change it and argue that they're using a legal strategy. But ultimately, if he's going to cooperate, he's going to have to start talking.
You mentioned he could say this is part of a legal strategy. Is there a legal strategy that you see emerging at this point for his defense?
I think
it seems erratic.
I think the best thing his lawyer's trying to do here, if you want to put the best spin on it, is try to get control over his client. Say, look, all these statements are flying all over the place about Natalie Holloway, about the situation in Peru, about everything, about whether he confessed, whether he didn't. And so he needs to calm down. He didn't make a statement yesterday, okay. But ultimately, he needs to cooperate, in my opinion. He has an opportunity to get a lesser sentence, and then he could ultimately actually receive parole.
And especially because he could potentially be in this sort of state, in this place in the case for a little while, because the next step in the Peruvian justice system could take a little while, if I understand that correctly.
Yes. The Peruvian justice system has a two-step process, and it was reformed in 2006. So in a way, the Peruvian legal system is kind of in the spotlight right now with this high-profile type case. Right now, they're in the investigative stage. In this stage, the judge acts as the investigator. He's going to gather all the facts and evidence. And then it will be sent over to a tribunal potentially for trial.
Before we let you go, the FBI wants him on suspicion of extortion for potentially trying to extort money from Natalie Holloway's family. What are the chances, based on the potential outcomes of this case, that he could face those charges in the U.S. ultimately? Well,
there's an arrest warrant pending, so the answer is he could. But first he has to survive Peru and Peruvian prison. And that's going to be a real uphill battle. We are talking about terrible conditions. Yeah. He could be killed, malnutrition. You have to have money brought in order just to survive. No one is giving him very good chances, no matter what that sentence potentially is, if there is one. I wouldn't. Dan Conaway, appreciate your expertise this morning. Thanks.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.